What's up, guys? Dallas here with another Deadass Series discussion, and today we're discussing confirmed spoilers for the finale of American Horror Stories, as well as the plot of Double Feature. Here today to help hash this shit out, we've got a friend of the channel, friend of the pod, Mark with Real Talk. Mark, we're currently 5 episodes in. How are you enjoying Stories as a whole, and what's your favorite episode so far?
My favorite episode so far, by far, is the Naughty List. Just because it was so ridiculously fun. And it's crazy because it's the shortest episode and probably the least satisfying in a lot of ways, especially for major diehard fans, people like us who've been watching from the very beginning. But I felt like it was effective in doing what it needed to do, introducing the characters that it introduced as antagonistic as they are, just because we know their archetypes. And dispatching them in a very quick, fun fashion, even though that wasn't the main focus of the show. That was my favorite one. The worst one, in my opinion, is Ball. And I know a lot of the people might think that's bad. Actually, maybe it's Drive-In. I don't know. Just to say, like, I don't really like the first episode. Fantastic. Second episode.
And the second episode, that is where it went full Murphy for me, and I didn't care for it. I'm glad that it supposedly had wrapped things up, but that actually brings us to the discussion that we're having today. For one, I got to give a spoiler warning. If you guys don't want to know anything about the finale, then why are you even listening to this? But for two, we've got a returning location. You guys may have heard about it. It's been in an episode or two. It's going to be Murder House showing up for the finale. Mark, what do you think?
Oh my God, I'm so tired. I'm so tired. We cannot get rid of this house. Now, obviously, we're going to be talking about the spoilers. I just have to say, I don't want to go back to this house. We've seen it way too much in this series, and it's time to just forget about it.
Right, and I mean,
That being said,
go on.
that being said, no. That being said, we can get into the spoilers, I guess. I do like. I'm assuming you're with me when I say that.
uh, I was with you by episode 2 of Stories. Like, we could have left it at 1, and we just totally went somewhere else. And it's like, well, what the hell? Like, I would be interested about what happened with the rest of that story. But then we got the rest of it right away, and it felt disjointed. It felt rushed from the get-go. Like, who the hell was even Ruby? Like, we get introduced to her when she's already in the tub with Scarlet. Like, it was just a lot of rushing. It just felt incomplete, and yeah, it just felt like they were trying to.
No, I'm sorry. I would agree with you. Just leaving it on her black eyes. Uh, at the end of the very first episode, I feel like you would be like, "Wow, interesting. Like, I
Yeah.
can't wait to see where this goes, and what does this mean for like the broader universe and everything." But then they came back and they made her a lot more sympathetic than she came off in the first episode, and I felt like that was the wrong direction.
Yeah, and then you have another bad girl who, like, I'm sorry, we just got to know Scarlet, who she's all into this BDSM stuff, and not even the light version. Like, so now we have Ruby coming in, and it's all like, well, shit, what kind of porn do you like? Like, it just felt like, why are we gonna have another bad girl on top of another bad girl? It's like a hat on a hat. But yeah, it immediately went back to it, and that, like, if we would have gotten Drive-In as the second episode, and maybe just an episode in between as like a buffer, and we went back for episode 3, or God forbid the finale, but like we're doing now, and here we are, we could have had the finale be that episode there, and then Scarlet gets away at the end, and the season ends with Scarlet being Rubber Woman going to kill. Yeah,
I
that's
think that makes a lot more sense for
right.
a season finale, honestly,
Yeah.
because at that point, and this is their release schedule more than anything, but just being able to watch both episodes back to back, you because I know you watched it this way, I did too, where we watched the first episode and then immediately watched the second, and it's like, wow, super jarring.
For sure. Oh
Like,
yeah, that's how it went down.
and so yeah, like the second episode being the finale, or just kind of maneuvering it that way, would have made a lot more sense, because we would have had so much detachment from the characters and situation that it would have felt a little bit natural that Scarlet and her dads and everybody are kind of coming into this whole place, right? And there's been some time in between. Um, just naturally, I think we would have been more removed from that first episode to look back on it very kindly. Getting it at the very beginning didn't do it any favors. But again, way too much time talking about what we've seen before and what we think of the entire show. What about the finale? What's going to happen in the finale? For anyone who's still listening this far and does not want spoiler warnings, that's crazy. But you do you, man.
Right. The well, I've had it confirmed online as far as which characters we're going to be seeing returning, which it shouldn't surprise that we're going to be returning to Murder House. So of course we're going to be seeing Scarlet, we're going to be seeing the murdered pack of high school girls, and we're going to be seeing Ruby again for sure. As far as anybody who is returning from American Horror Story, specifically Murder House, we do know for sure that we're going to be seeing at least Dylan McDermott as Ben Harmon. And then, oddly enough, I don't know why these characters are in it, and the only reason I can think of is that it's going to be Halloween and it is somebody else dressed up as them, or their spirits just happen to walk by because it's Halloween. We're going to be seeing Twisty as well as Bloody Face. And Mark, did you know either of those were going to be back?
No, I didn't know any of those people were going to be back. I love the fact that we're getting Dylan McDermott. I feel like Dylan McDermott needs to be in more things.
He does.
I want there to be a wink and a nod of Ben Harmon looking exactly like Bloody Face's son, but maybe we're not going to get that.
I would
When
love
you
that.
say Bloody Face, though, when you saying blood face, though, are you talking about
Zachary Quinto or Dylan McDermott's
yeah, Zachary
version.
Quinto or Dylan? Yeah, like or just the mask.
I believe it's
I
just the
wonder. I don't
mask.
know.
Right, and that's where there hasn't been enough. Like, I didn't even think to ask that until just now. Like, you completely raised that question for me. I didn't see the bloody face. I did see Twisty, and it did not look like it was going to be played by John Carroll Lynch. It just looked like a skinnier person under the costume. But I didn't.
Oh, that's actually sad because we got John Carroll Lynch back for stories, and he did
Thank
a
you.
fantastic job.
Right,
I might hate Drive-In, but he's the best part of that episode.
right, and just Pepper's underuse. I don't even want to get into that. But that was, we had John Carroll Lynch come back. We had Naomi Grossman come back. But oh my God, she was criminally underused. But yeah, Twisty's going to be returning, and it does not look like John Carroll Lynch. I hope I'm proven wrong there because I'm just going off of a set photo. And then Bloody Face, I didn't see anything for him, so it's honestly up in the air as to who that could be.
The one thing I saw just weeks and weeks ago, maybe months even, the Tate photo. It looked like, it might be Evan Peters, who we don't know, but it
Oh,
was
yep.
obviously someone on set dressed up like Tate. And look, it makes a lot of sense to bring these characters back. One of the things that I believe you brought up, and then I brought up in my review for the first two episodes, and I'm sure a lot of people pointed out, especially in my comment section, because I saw a lot of it, was, because of Apocalypse's ending the way it ended, we didn't get a very happy ending for everybody in Murder House. Like, it happened halfway through the season, but nothing really came about it, right?
Right.
And Stories kind of confirms that everyone's on non-speaking terms, and it's supposed to be 2020, 2021, whenever it's supposed to take place. So, there's room to go back and have a happy ending for all of our main characters that we haven't seen in, many years since Apocalypse.
Right. And that was my next question, was as far as a proper send off, where would you want it left at? And as far as the continuity, the plates of Scarlett's car at the end of the second episode, I believe it said it was 2020 when she had left Murder House. I don't know when the finale is going to be taking place. But another thing that kind of confuses me about the fact that it's coming back to Murder House is the fact that I think it was Ruby at the end of the second episode was talking about how Scarlett got out and she went and lived her life and did her thing, and she continued to visit for years. So when does the finale take place?
Yeah, and that kind of brings me back to what we were saying earlier with the second episode feeling more like a season finale.
Exactly.
One of the things that we were talking about before we recorded, for anyone who doesn't realize this, is that while the first season, whether it's season 1 and the next couple of batches of episodes are season 2, or this is season 1A and then the next couple of batches are season 2B or season 1B, I mean, it would make sense to start in Murder House, end halfway through the season or this shortened season on Murder House, and then end the entire season on Murder House, if that's what they're going to do. But it seems like they're pushing up that, that timeline, something that we might expect. So Scarlet enters Murder House, she leaves, hasn't come back for years and years and years, and by the time we get to the end of, I believe it's 16 episodes that were greenlit and filmed for this show, you're back there again. It's multiple years in the future, and you can do whatever you want with these characters and this concept. But we've been disconnected for a long time. But in true Ryan Murphy fashion, you're moving way faster than you probably should, getting to a point where you're kind of blowing your load really early, and you're leaving a lot of it up to people just wanting to stay invested, where, I don't know, man. I feel like a lot of people aren't being invested in this spinoff entirely, and I've seen a lot of the hate for some of the previous seasons that we've gotten.
Right, yeah, 1984, just as an example.
Which I love. I really love that one. I know you do too.
I do, and like the only thing for me is that the Richard Ramirez thing kind of screws with the continuity, and I only care about the continuity because I want this series to succeed. I'm all just make.
I only care about the continuity because they made it a point.
Right? Yeah, it was such a big thing that he was in Hotel, and then to have him here, I'm like, did you guys not watch the show? Like, is it the same writers, but y'all didn't make them like be up to date, before they came on and started writing?
Anyway, there was something you were telling me. So, is there any more that we need to know from the finale itself, or what do you think is going to happen? I personally think that we're just going to get a had sappy ending, like everything's fine for the Murder House people, and everyone's made up because the ending that we got in Apocalypse doesn't matter anymore because they changed the future, and we need to give them a happy ending, and for whatever reason we're doing it in this because we can, and we don't have to spend another season going back to it. That's what I imagine that it's going to be.
If your idea of the happy sappy ending includes Murder House burning down, that's the tentative rumor right now, is that hopefully, and honestly, I'm not going to be sad to see it go. But
oh my God.
That's what I'm hearing, is that, Murder House is going to be done.
I call bullshit. I call 100% bullshit. You know why? I'm going to call it right now. You know why? Because
witches.
Murder House is going to burn the hell down. No, yeah, because of witches. Murder House is going to burn the hell down, and that's going to be the big final cliffhanger. Like, oh my gosh, it's done. Never coming back here again. Screw this place. And then, after the credits roll, for sale sign. It's all the way back up again. It built itself back up, bitches.
Oh my God. Okay.
Or someone or somebody is rebuilding the damn thing. Like that.
The ghosts.
That is what's going to happen. Yeah, like that's what's going to happen. It's going to burn down, but it's still going to be around because they can't say no to Murder House.
Adam
can't let it die.
Adam, the contractor who died in the house, is going to rebuild it. And he's got the help of his ghost army who lives there. He's going to teach them. They're going to be making breakfast every morning with that food that God knows where they get it from, but they've all got breakfast every morning.
Scarlet has to... Why do ghosts need to eat? I don't know. But Scarlet just keeps sending food and phones to Murder House.
She pays all
it's
their
like
phone
literally 95% of her income.
Right. She doesn't even have a place. She just drives around because she can't afford it.
She's so impoverished. She's taking out loans.
Oh my God. I'm trying to feed. Do you know how many ghosts I have to feed?
Why do you have to feed ghosts?
This is all long story.
I get it. No, I get it. That would be a murder house, not just murder house. American Horror Story itself is so fucking funny sometimes.
Oh, it
That
can be.
if
Absolutely.
if that is the reason for if that's the reason for having the contractor is like he trains the army of ghosts to rebuild it exactly the way it was, hilarious. I want to see that.
Ryan
Uh,
Murphy,
I
hire
would
us.
no, but the only thing that could come of that is one, and I think that this is going to happen. It's going to burn down if it burns down, and then it's going to end with it being mysteriously made again because the house can't die. It's like this living entity, or it burns down, and we get to see the Harmon family walk out of those gates and just keep walking.
I would love to see some closure like that. Moira as well, because she is no longer in heaven thanks to Apocalypse.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, to see Moira walk out, see the family walk out, just to see like the rules like definitively end or be broken, it's like, oh shit, that whatever's keeping them there is gone. There is a sense it's the finale of all of their stories basically. I would love something
Exactly.
like that. But even as far as stories is going to go, we actually did get information on double feature as well. The plot of at least the first half of it is going to be focused on a struggling writer, which is Finn Wittrock. His pregnant wife is going to be Lily Rabe. Their daughter, I'm not sure of the actress playing her. They moved to an isolated beach town for the winter, and it says once they're settled in, the town's true residents begin to make themselves known. And have you seen the you've seen the teaser, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the aliens and these what do we even call these yet? Do we know if they're mer people or just body modded people?
I don't know. I keep thinking like when I first saw them, it's like okay, maybe vampires, but then that doesn't really seem consistent. I don't really know
Yeah.
what to call them. I'm really excited about the second half, which seems to be more alien focused because I've been
Yes.
asking for aliens since Asylum.
Thank you.
I thought that was one of the more interesting concepts, especially the way that they perceive it, because it's like, oh, it's like kind of God, like aliens are kind of godly,
Right.
and I know we've dealt with angels of death and all these other like biblical concepts in American Horror Story, but I feel like we've had more definitive depictions of devils and demons and all this other stuff and not God.
Nothing
And
benevolent.
well, I mean, you can argue and people do, but the idea that the aliens themselves are kind of like the godly form of American Horror Story has always been really interesting to me.
Same. And that's why I don't know why, well, I don't know why it's taken so long for it to come back, but then also I have heard things about Ryan Murphy not being into the alien storyline, and that's why it took so long for it to come back. But
Sure.
that could also explain why it's part of a shortened season, is so that he didn't even have to touch on it for that long, and we got something. But that's just my theory. I'm definitely looking forward to the second half more for sure. And then knowing that there's people being cast as presidents throughout history, like from Eisenhower up to at least Nixon, and then they got
Mhm.
a Marilyn Monroe. Just the
Yeah.
possibility, it's going to be going through decades, and God knows what the story itself is going to be. But it sounds like we don't even know if they're going to be the same kinds of aliens as from Asylum. Like it could be a completely different thing, and we might not see Kit or any reference to that, you know, just from the ones that we've already seen.
And that's true. That's not only is that interesting to me, but it also is really interesting to me that we're going to be dealing with a more science fiction type of storyline and not just horror in general. We're not going to be dealing with demons, devils, ghosts, witches, that type of stuff. We're going to be dealing primarily with more of a grounded concept that we saw in Cult, like real world, actual historic figures
Yeah,
in the time that they lived, seeing what they were dealing with at the time. And yes, it's science fiction horror, which I get, but that's almost more refreshing than going back to demons and going back to other things that just like, I don't really need to see any more of this. I don't need to see more witches. I don't need
Oh
to
my
see more
god.
ghosts. I don't need to see more. I mean, not that I don't like the witches and the ghosts and all that stuff, but like we've seen it before, right? Let's do something completely different. And this season seems not only completely different, but bolder for telling two stories. And it seems like they're leaning into fixing their biggest problem, which is we have an entire season to fill up and we run out of ideas halfway through every single time.
Right.
Like and it kind of goes off the rails. So what if we give ourselves half a season to tell one entire story and then do another part of the season for another part of the story? Quite frankly, if it's a success and it's a really good season, this is something I would kind of want them to do going forward
Yeah.
with season 11, 12, and 13.
It's like the midpoint of American Horror Story and Stories. Story gave us a whole season. Stories is giving us 1 or 2 episodes, and then Double Feature is giving us that sweet spot of either 5 and 5 or 6 and 4, to where hopefully it'll be they didn't try and stretch something out that they couldn't, or hopefully it'll be something that's so jam packed that it'll leave us actually wanting more after we're done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course.
But yeah, we leave that question to you guys. What would you prefer to see as far as a double feature, American Horror Stories for the finale? What would your send off for Murder House be? Comment below, like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. Mark, thank you again for joining us in this dead ass serious discussion. You guys have a good rest of your day.